That's good because usually when I've done this, you've had to have on the big headset.
Well, hi once again, everybody. Welcome in wherever you're watching us, listening to us on whatever platform to another great, informative, fun edition of Pick Your Politics. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Very happy to have you today. We got a wonderful guest, and I got a lot to tell you about her because we've got a very full show with her. So I'm going to get started right away and tell you a little bit about our special guest, Jill Douglas. Jill is the Republican candidate running for Senate District 6. She was born in Florida, but migrated here to California, living here since 1994. And let me ask you right off the bat, why Las Vegas from Florida? And where were you in Florida, number one? Why'd you pick Las Vegas to move to?
I'm from that part of Florida they actually call L.A., Lower Alabama. You know, it's the Florida Panhandle between Pensacola and Panama City. So I'm a beach girl.
Okay.
And, I happened to marry one of those Air Force guys who started taking me around. And we were in Tacoma, Washington when he got selected for this really special assignment out here. And, of course, when I said, well, tell me about it, he said, well, I can't. I'd have to shoot you. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those. And at the time, I was like, I can't believe we're going to move to Las Vegas with our 4 sons. But we moved here, and I fell in love with the place. And so I started, seeking out opportunities to open up my own business.
Yeah, and you did. And you did. Jill is the current president of the Battle-Born Republican Women's Group. Very interesting situation there. We're going to talk about that. She also has 30 years of experience in the insurance and the financial services industry, and you're also a certified financial planner.
Well,
so you must keep the checkbook at home.
I do.
Yeah.
I balance the
Okay.
budget. I pay the bills.
I figured that. You're also a Blue Star mother. So
Yes.
for those viewers watching, please explain what a Blue Star mother is.
A Blue Star mother means that you're a mother of someone who's currently serving active duty in the service of our country.
Okay. That's nice to be in
Yes.
that organization, I'm sure. All right, let me start off and ask you this. How did Battle-Born Republican Women's Group of Nevada form?
Right.
How did you get that idea? How did you bring it all about? Because it's very successful.
Yes. I'm really proud of the Battle-Born Republican Women's Group. It really was born from a group of women who were involved with some of the other political organizations. And as we examined what was going on, we realized that a lot of the organizations get together, they have lunch, they have dinner, they become very great socializing venues, but we really envisioned a club that was active, that was really making an impact in the political scene. So I, along with a group of women, Bernadette Anthony, Lieutenant Governor's wife, Michelle Barnes, Carrie Ferguson, just a whole group of women. We met in my living room, and we created the framework for what we said was we were battle-born, because all women have been through many tests and trials and tribulations in our life. It's one of the things that unite us. And we decided we were going to be that group who really got very active in supporting campaigns through fundraising, through phone calling, through door knocking, and we have become the most active group in Nevada.
Yeah, and it is. Have you gotten Stavros in to talk to your group?
Oh, definitely, definitely. He's
a
never
great
more
guy.
than a phone call away.
He's a
so
great guy.
awesome because
Yeah.
he's always so willing to, as busy as he is, lend his time to come out and support whatever we're doing.
Yeah. No, he's terrific. You have no real experience, Jill, in government politics. How important do you think that is?
I think it's very important, and it's important because, I'm just like every other voter out there, right? The decisions that our legislatures make impact our everyday lives. And as I became more and more involved, years ago, I started going to the school board meetings because I was very concerned. Why was why was our educational system so poor? What was happening? And wanted to really become more knowledgeable and informed about what was going on in the Clark County School District. And an extension of that is I then became very involved with the legislative sessions, and I would testify on, for bills, against bills, write letters, submit comment on the Nellis site. And that was really a very eye-opening experience for me,
Yeah,
because
I
I
bet.
felt like when we vote people into office, we're voting people to go up there and represent
Right,
us
totally.
and our interests.
Totally.
And what I saw were people who had no interest whatsoever in the voice or the values of Nevadans.
Totally, 100%. I know that the governor is trying very, very hard to kind of flip-flop things because, as you may or may not know, the state legislature is dominated by Democrats.
Right.
And we got to get some of them out. We got to get more Republicans in to make it easier for the governor all the way down the line to pass some good education pertaining to education, especially. And I know that's a very area of interest to Governor Lombardo, like that. You say that you are a people person. What is your definition of being a people person?
Somebody who understands, somebody who relates, somebody who feels your pain, someone who's willing to partner with you to help solve your problems. I'm a collaborator, and one of the things, if I get elected, that I feel is missing is a coalition, a citizens coalition that would be nonpartisan. When you're tackling issues, you need to go to the people most affected by those issues. If you're tackling a veterans issue, instead of our legislatures that listen a lot to special interest groups, lobbyists, why aren't we bringing in a group of veterans, creating roundtables? If we're dealing with education, bring in a group of students, bring in a group of moms, bring in a group of dads. Talk to the people most affected by these decisions that are being made and work on solutions.
It's common sense.
It's common sense.
Yeah, that's
One of the
why.
reasons I'm running is
That's
because
why.
I feel like, God gave me a gift of common sense.
Yeah.
And I think common sense is lacking in our state
Yeah.
legislature.
Yeah, no, that would be too easy, as they say.
Yeah.
You have District 6 is very large. You have over 100,000 people,
Yes.
I believe, if memory serves me correctly, in there. Describe the makeup of District 6.
Right. It is large. I have driven the entire district, and it literally starts at Charleston and Jones. And it goes up, Jones goes up to Washington and then Vegas and Lake Mead, and it kind of stair steps.
Gets into Summerlin, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It comes around the whole entire rainbow curve around Alta up to Antelope, goes
Wow.
over to Alta, Hualapai up Town Center, all of Summerlin Parkway, Summerlin, TPC Summerlin, TPC Canyon, Sun City Summerlin, jumps over the highway, encompasses Reverence, runs around the 215, everything west of the 215 up to
Wow.
Lone Mountain.
Wow.
And then comes back down Lone Mountain, grabs parts of Lone Mountain, parts of Craig, parts of Alexander, Tenaya, and then crosses back over Rainbow at Cheyenne. So it is a large, territory. And it encompasses, it has a higher than average senior population. Certainly that's because of Sun City. But it has a higher than average educational level, but yet at the same time, there are certainly parts of the district that I would like to work with really heavily. The areas, clearly the areas around Washington and Jones, Vegas and Jones, Charleston and Jones. Look, far different from the communities in the Summerlin area.
True.
I am doing some Hispanic outreach. I think there's a lot of children there who have been served by some of the opportunity scholarships, and clearly that's a program that needs expanding.
Yeah. Now, there's a good amount of diversity in District 6 with its makeup. When you're walking and you're knocking on doors, you're talking to people, you're introducing yourself, what are you hearing? What seems to be, if it's possible, an overwhelming concern by these people?
I would say the number one concern of almost everybody starts off and they mention the economy. Mm-hmm. And this is, I'm hearing stories. I knocked on a door the other day. This is a nice community right off of Rampart and Buffalo. And the woman there shared with me how she's living on a fixed income. And the economy has so adversely affected her that she literally is skipping meals.
Wow.
I mean, that's not okay.
Wow.
It's
not okay.
I go up to Sun City, and they're seeing a huge amount of increased theft. And they are very, very concerned. They're a more vulnerable population, and their homes are being broke into, and they are not feeling safe, and that's not okay. This true story. Twice in the past couple months, I have been in different CVS stores and been there while somebody was walking out of the store carrying huge amounts of merchandise, and had the store clerk try to stop them, and obviously couldn't. And the store clerk would come back and to me, almost in tears, trembling, telling me that this is going on all the time and that the stores are going to close and they're going to lose their jobs. Clearly, the policies from our state legislature that have increased the threshold on theft up to $1,200, even higher than California, send a wrong message to criminals. They're sending a message that it's okay to commit crime.
Right.
And it's not,
It's not.
And then the third thing that jumps out is the education. And I had a woman talk to me about her autistic daughter and how she felt the public schools were failing her child because her daughter's autistic. And the learning plan for her daughter requires a certain amount of speech therapy every day, and she's not getting that. And again, that's not okay. We cannot fail our children. They're our future.
No. Let's talk about some of the issues you're focusing on in your campaign. I know there are many, and you kind of hit on it with public safety, which has become a huge concern, I think, over the entire country, but especially here in southern Nevada. What would you be able to do what's the answer to that, Jill? More cops, more what? What can you do for public safety? Because everybody wants that.
Right. I do think it's a partnership between citizens and law enforcement. My son, who's active duty, he is military law enforcement. My grandfather was in law enforcement, so I grew up with a huge amount of respect for law enforcement and the impact that they have on helping us have safe communities. And these are individuals who wake up every day, put on a uniform, and have no idea what that day might bring.
Right.
But when you pass things like, no bail so that they arrest criminals and then they see them released. When you do things like you increase the theft thresholds and they have to say there's nothing that we can do, you demoralize the police force. And so for a lot of police, when they're not feeling supported, there are policemen retiring, and we're not recruiting police to take their place. So we definitely, need to have a strong partnership where law enforcement knows that we appreciate them and we support them. And I do believe that there are things that we can do. When I think about my platform, one of the first buckets of money that I think that we can find to help education and help law enforcement is the waste to taxpayers of what we're spending for these mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots, Certainly, there are individuals who need to get mail-in ballots.
Right.
And those individuals should be able to opt in and get a mail-in ballot. But just to haphazardly mail ballots to almost all 2 million
Yeah,
registered
yeah,
voters in this
yeah.
state, and you don't just mail, you mail sample ballots, you mail the real ballots. We're a transient state, which means a lot of those ballots end up all over mail rooms, end up to the wrong people.
Right.
And
Right.
we're
Good point.
spending, there is a cost to mail ballots, and that cost is something like $6 to $8 million an election cycle. Now, that's a lot of money.
A lot
and
of money.
most of those ballots end up in people's garbage cans. Some people do bring them to the polling centers and
Right.
drop them off, but it creates opportunity for irregularities, and we should be doing everything within our elections to, make voting easier.
Yep.
But make it harder to cheat.
Yeah,
And so when
right.
you look at that one area alone, if we stop mailing ballots out to everybody and only mail them to the people that desire to have them mailed, right there, that's a savings of about $6 to $8 million, and that's money that we can go towards law enforcement.
Right.
We can create, stronger community relationships. The more law enforcement you have in your community, then clearly crime is going to go down. Right now, they're spread so
Right,
thin that they
right.
can't be everywhere
Right.
they need to be.
Yeah, good point, absolutely. I could see people in the military overseas mail-in ballots that aren't here.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I
yes.
get that. They can't get up and go to a polling place, but your point's well taken. All right, we talked a little bit about education reform. We've had problems here with the Clark County School District. Some people leave Las Vegas because they feel the education system here is very poor. We have a shortage of teachers. We're looking for a new superintendent, and it's going around and around and around. What would you be able to do to attract better educators?
Right. Well, it starts with ensuring that you have policies in place that make teachers feel safe. You have to have a safe learning environment for students,
Yeah.
and you have to have a safe learning environment for teachers. So you have to have policies in force within the school district so students know that it's not okay to fight, it's not okay to bring
Right.
weapons, it's not okay to make threats, and any of that, there has to be a zero tolerance policy, and those children have to be removed. And I don't want to see them drop out of school. I want them put into alternative learning programs. So we still need to ensure that they can contribute as an adult to society and don't fall into a life of crime. But what I think it starts very early on. So we need to be very invested in children from a very early age with getting them excited about learning and developing their gifts, talents, and abilities. We need to have, our proficiency standards are simply too low. And we need to be elevating those proficiency standards. And when you lift standards, children will follow and they will accomplish more. But our standards right now, essentially in Clark County, are if 1 in 3 children can read or 1 out of 3 children can do math, that's the proficiency standard. That is not
good.
okay. No,
That's
no.
not acceptable.
It's not, because the reverse of that is we have to look at Nevada and say, we need job creation. And to create jobs and to be able to diversify, we've built a great hospitality industry, the casinos, but is that always going to be there as more and more states,
Right.
try to mirror what we have?
Right.
What other
Good
things
point.
can we do? We should become a technology hub. We should become a medical hub. We should become a manufacturing hub. All of these things, though, require that we be able to show employers that we have an educated, citizens who can take those jobs.
And would you go along with various incentives to get some of these industries here?
Yeah, I think it's critically important that you have a low taxation base
Yeah.
to spur interest in your economy. And certainly there are things sometimes that you need to do, when you're focused on enticing businesses to be here, because it is going to spur the economy, it is going to create jobs. Getting back to education a little bit, I testified on behalf of that AB 400, that school, that opportunity scholarships.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this was a real turning point for me, and one of the big reasons I actually decided that I was going to step into this race. That hearing room was full of students. Half of the individuals that showed up to testify to our state legislature were children. They are the ones who are impacted by these decisions. And they came to participate in government. They came to talk to the legislature about the impact of these opportunity scholarships on them. And the sad thing to me was not one child was even acknowledged. They were not thanked for being there. Not one child was allowed to speak. They were totally ignored. And that hearing, which lasted until 11 o'clock that night, by about 9 o'clock, the children started leaving. And I thought, how arrogant that our legislature were to ignore those children and hear from them, because they were the one whose lives were going to be impacted by this decision.
Right.
And to me, they just turned their back on our children. And that's just not okay. I have grandchildren. I really care about the opportunities that they're given. I want them to have good education. I want them to be contributing members of society.
It's critical.
We owe our children a future.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely critical. Let's jump to healthcare. A lot of people here have a lot of different opinions about the quality of healthcare here in Southern Nevada. And there are a few problems with it. It's very, very important because everybody, no matter where you live in Nevada, everywhere in the country, you need to have good health care. No doubt about it.
I think some of that goes into the barriers for doctors and nurses to come here. So you have to look at things like reciprocal licensing, so that if someone is licensed in another state, why do they need to come here and retest and go through all of this, all of these hurdles? We have to remove hurdles to business, right? And so, I think Nevada can be very attractive, as a no state income state, to attract business. But then the other thing is, when a doctor looks at, well, what's the educational system look like for my children?
Right.
What's the crime look like?
Right.
See, those things all factor into whether doctors want to move here.
Right.
And so we've got to make sure that we have an environment, a low taxation environment, but also remove the barriers to them transitioning here, because we do need quality doctors and nurses.
No doubt.
Competition is a good thing. Competition is going to help improve our schools. And competition is good. The more doctors we have, the better our health care will be.
No doubt.
And I also think that's one of the things where what I would want to do, this is again where I would want to create a roundtable, and I would want to bring in some doctors, and I want to bring in some nurses, and I want to hear from them. I want to hear their voices and talk about what are their ideas for solutions. Like, we never ask, right? We just assume, I got voted into office, so I know. No, you don't know. And you need to ask the people most impacted by these decisions, what would be some things that they would do?
Absolutely, yeah. They're the industry people. They know.
Right.
So pick their brains.
That's right.
And educate yourself. No, those are excellent ideas. You have a website, of course.
I do.
Please put it out for everybody and go on her website. Get to know Jill a little bit. She's still looking for volunteers to knock on doors or donations or to help whatever.
Right. You can find me at jilldouglas.com. And on our website, you can reach out and make contact. Let us know if you'd like to volunteer. Let us, know if you'd like. There's a donate button. All candidates, not just me, but all candidates need kind of the same things, right? We need everyone to turn out to vote.
Right.
Listen, early voting is going on. Early voting ends on the 7th. Election day is the 11th. Turnout right now for early voting is extremely low. Now, normally early voting has about a 30% turnout rate. Sometimes early voting is helped when the presidential election is part of
Right.
it. We pulled that out and made it a
Yeah.
separate standalone primary. So right now it's low. And so that means less people are going to be deciding who moves on to general elections. So everybody, your vote is your voice. That's the only voice you have. And we need change. And so we need everyone to turn out, make their voice heard, vote for change. So you got to vote. Then volunteer. Every single campaign needs people to help make calls, needs people to help knock doors.
Right.
You can go through a neighborhood and 80 homes could take you 4 hours, or if you have a lot of people, 80 homes can take you an hour. So we all need volunteers.
Yeah.
We certainly all need help with fundraising.
Yeah.
It takes money to run a campaign. And then,
No doubt.
And actually, probably one of the most important things is we need everybody's prayers.
Yeah. And I keep saying, this is not an easy gig running for
No.
office. It's 24/7. It's a lot of hard work. You're dependent on volunteers to some extent, and it takes money. That's, that's the whole thing. I know you've had events in the past. Have you got anything coming up in the near future that people could come to, meet you
Right.
face to face
We
and
don't
talk
right
to
now
you?
because we've been just very focused on the early voting. We're still knocking on doors.
Yeah.
We're going to have a Super Saturday, which will be the last door knocking day before the election. So if anyone wants to help knock doors on Saturday, again, go in on the website, jilldouglas.com. We could certainly use your help for our Super Saturday. And then really it's getting through election day.
Right.
And then we'll start working on strategy and creating events moving forward for the general.
Yeah. And that's where the work really starts
Absolutely.
after Election Day.
Right.
Which is coming up really soon, folks.
Right. And I
So-
have some ideas, I want to do some town halls with as we moved into the general,
Yeah.
focused on here. See, one of the things is I've knocked doors and I've talked to voters is, first of all, I've said, do you know who your elected official is? And the answer is no.
No.
Have you ever heard from them? No. Have you ever gotten a newsletter? Have they ever reached out? Have they ever asked your opinion? And the answer is always no. That's not right. If you are voted into office to represent individuals, you've got to make contact with those individuals. You've got to hear from them. You've got to make yourself accessible. You've got to create town
Right.
halls, newsletters.
Right.
How do they
Right.
even know how to get a hold of you?
Right.
You're there. You're working for them, right? You should be working for them. It's not them working for you. And again, this is one of the reasons I decided to run, because I think that some individuals, they get elected in office and they go up there and they forget about the voters. They don't listen to our voice. They're no longer representing our values. Nevadans are very much a limited government state, and yet they get up there and they forget that. And I always want to be connected to people, to the voters. How are they feeling about the issues? Again, brainstorming solutions for issues, making them part of the process. That's what the government's supposed to be.
Yeah, because two heads are always better than
That's right.
one, and get some opinions and get some direction. And it seems real. How do you feel about the legislature meeting every other year?
I think it's going to become, it's certainly from a cost perspective, having a part-time legislature saves us money, right? But as our state continues to grow, I would think at some point in time you have to ask the question, is part-time enough?
I know, I
Or
agree.
is the limited amount of time, is the
agree.
120 days enough?
Yeah.
Because honestly, being involved in the legislative session with thousands and thousands of bills, it's like they open up a fire hose and it's
Yeah, a
and
lot.
so I wonder
It's a lot.
sometime, are we actually giving each bill the quality amount of time that it needs to be given? Are citizens able to get involved as much? Because literally, it's hard to keep up with all of those bills,
yeah.
truly understand them, truly be able to give public comment or write letters.
Yep.
And, you know, as citizens, we want to be involved at that process, but keeping up with the volume of bills that is being
a big
thrown
job.
out there,
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right, last question for you. What committees would be important to you?
Definitely anything to do with education, probably finance. I'm very interested in looking at, you know, and I really appreciate Andy Matthews because I think he's doing a great job as the controller, and he's created a portal now to make expenditures transparent, and that's great. But you know, I want to look at things like, you know, we add on taxes and it seems like they stay there forever. Are they ever reevaluated? You know, when you get your car registration and it's $700 or $800 to register your car, it's not because of the registration fee, it's because of all these governmental taxes.
Right.
Do we ever reevaluate the necessity of that? Our same way with our property taxes. We add all these taxes on there and it's a mile long. Is there ever opportunity to say, you know, that one was put on there 50 years ago and maybe we don't
Take it
need
off.
it anymore? Like, there has to be I'll tell you something they do in Florida that I like, and I really want to talk to Lombardo about this, is they have some tax holidays. And during different times of the year, they don't collect sales tax on the purchase of certain goods. So, for example, in August, it's back to school. So if you're buying back to school supplies, there's no sales tax on back to school supplies.
Didn't
And
know that.
hurricane preparation season, because they want to encourage people to buy the supplies they need to be
Right.
prepared for a hurricane, there's no taxes on that.
Wow.
So I think there's opportunity to make our citizens feel like the government is trying to help them, especially in the economic times that we're having.
Yes.
What are some ways we can find some relief, even if it's just small amounts here or
great
there?
idea.
You know, like I look at
great idea.
the small checks for our car, and I think, okay, the first year of a brand new car, you don't have to have it, but why do we have to have it at years 2, 3, 4? Do you know of anyone's car that's 5, 6, 4 years that doesn't pass the small check? I mean, it's a small amount of money, right?
Yeah.
But it all adds up, and every
Sure
little
it
amount
does.
right now, when I'm talking to people and they're telling me they're skipping meals, well, you know what? The price of a small check can buy some ham and bread and eggs, right? So we need to be evaluating this and trying to find areas
100%.
where we can provide some relief.
100%.
Yeah.
And people would really, especially today, in these times, 100%. Donald Trump's going to be here over the weekend at Sunset Park. You going?
Well, he's going to be at a Ahern event on Saturday night that I'm
Oh, is
going
he?
to, yes. And so I'm debating whether I want to go Saturday since I'm going to, go Sunday since I'm going to see him Saturday.
What time
Yeah.
is the event there?
Yeah, I think it's a sold out event right now, but it's Saturday evening,
Yeah.
at the Ahern.
At the
So I'm
Ahern.
excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
I think the turnout on Sunday is going to be tremendous.
Oh, I do too.
I would tell people, boy, you better show up early. You know, there's very limited parking down at Sunset
Yeah.
Park. So I imagine people are going to have to park and walk.
I
probably
believe
stand in line.
I believe I read opens at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
We don't know what time he's going to be there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
supposed to be
gonna
around
packed.
noon. I haven't been to any event where when they tell you the time he's going to be there, that's when they start speakers,
Yeah.
and he still comes a little bit later.
Yeah.
That's an exciting thing for our valley to be able to see him and hear from him and rally around him. And I know it's just going to be packed.
It's gonna be packed.
I'll tell people, You're not allowed to take umbrellas or anything like that because they'll be confiscated by, the security services. But, water, man, people are going to have
Oh,
to
yeah.
take water, wear your sunscreen.
Gotta stay
It's-
hydrated.
Stay hydrated. It's going to be a hot day out there.
Yeah, yeah. In more ways than one. In more ways than one. Anyway, Jill Douglas has been our special guest here on Pick Your Politics, running for Senate in District 6. And we appreciate you coming
Well,
on.
hey,
I
thank
know
you
you're
so much.
busy.
I appreciate
and
the opportunity.
we wish you all the best. And anything we can do to further help you, don't hesitate.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's an important race.
Have you snuck up to Carson City yet to look for a place to live?
I have not. I did have a lot of friends in Carson City. When I was working, I oversaw the company operations in Nevada, Arizona, and Colorado. So I've been everywhere in Nevada, all those small towns, all the
Yeah.
Elkos, Winnemucca, Fernley, Fallon,
Yeah,
Minden,
yeah. There's a lot
Garnerville,
of 'em.
Carson City. There's a lot of them. And, those rural Nevada, the voters up there, they're a strong voter base. They turn out. They care about this state, and
As they should.
I
As
really
should
appreciate
everybody.
them.
As should
Absolutely,
everybody living here.
Absolutely.
It's our state. We want to make it the very best we can for
and
your
that's
family
why I'm
and
running.
the people that work for you.
Everyone deserves an opportunity to be prosperous, and we
Absolutely.
need a
I like
government
that.
that helps support that. Prosperity for all.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. But anyway, good luck to you.
Hey, thank you so much.
And we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely,
Have
we
you back
will.
sooner than later and see what happens. And don't forget, like I say, vet your candidates. You may not agree with them, but see what they got to say. See if anything works in that you like. And the most important thing is get up and get out and vote. Like Jill says, you can complain, but it doesn't mean anything. It's your voice. Your vote is your voice. Want to change things? Get up and get out and vote. So anyway, all right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Pick Your Politics. For Jill, I've been your host, Ennis Silvers, and it's coming pretty soon. Boy, primary, general's going to be here pretty soon, so keep on top of things. So we'll see you back, same place, same time next week. So long, everybody.